Hello everybody, my name is Micah Forster, and today we will be talking about how we're going to take our design for the fantasy football application that we're talking about in the blog series, and what we're going to do is convert that over to a React application. So I figured we'd break this down into various steps. We're going to first start off with the initial breakdown of the design into its various components. Then we're going to stub out those components in React. In our third video, we're going to demonstrate how you can integrate D3, which is our data visualization, into a React.js application. And then we're going to conclude this with an overview of using SCSS to style our components. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we do that, we're going to use a tool that's going to help us streamline our workflow and get us up and running in little to no time, and that is a tool called Create React App, or CRA for short. So let's go ahead and install that. I want that to be global. Cool, so with the Create React app, as I mentioned before, this allows developers to get up and running in little to no time without having to worry about workflow of setting up your environment, making sure it's configured correctly, and just essentially minifying a lot of the work a developer would have to do to make sure that they have a production-ready application. Create React App takes away a lot of that burden, a lot of that hassle, and enables developers to focus primarily on the code for the React application, the front-end logic. So let's go ahead. We're going to use npx to execute our module that we've just installed. And the second parameter for Create React App is going to be the project name. So in this case, we're going to call it Fantasy Football. All right, so as we can see here, as React App is looking at our system, checking our requirements, our compatibility, it recognizes that we're using npm, and it's using that to fetch all the dependencies. It's going to load this up in a package JSON, and as you can see right there, these dependencies are the React, React DOM, React scripts, and CRA template. For development purposes, we are focusing on the React script, which enables us to run our application on our local environment, set them up for production builds, and run unit tests on them. So we'll open up the package JSON so you guys can get a little bit of a look inside of that file and see exactly what's entailed within it. So give us a little bit of some time to run through those installations. Once that's done, we're going to add a couple more dependencies in there. So one major technology that's introduced for the React application is Webpack. So Create React App, it heavily relies upon Webpack in conjunction to accomplish a lot of the workflow. So let's say transpiling our ES6 to ES5, Webpack works in conjunction with Babel to be able to accomplish that feat. So we have compatibility across only maybe ES5 compatible browsers. Webpack also works in conjunction with ESLint, which makes sure that our syntax in our application is following the standard. And then we also use Webpack to run Jest, basically go through all of our scripts, our tests, our unit tests, whether it's functional or unit, and make sure that they all pass. Awesome. So if you look here, it says that we're good, happy hacking, and the instructions are to change into the fantasy football directory and run npm start. So before we do that, I want you guys to take a note here of this command up at the or up here towards the top called npm run eject. So by default, our application, once it's bootstrapped using the Create React app, it hides a lot of the configuration away from the user. Once again, the whole purpose behind this is just to take that hassle away from the users and enable them to just get up and running and writing code for their application. But if you were curious, or if maybe you wanted to tweak some of the configurations, let's say in the Webpack configuration, you can run npm run eject, and what that's going to do is expose those scripts to you for customizations if you would like. So let's go ahead and change into the fantasy football directory. And before we start our project, there are a couple of things that I want to add, some other dependencies, one being Node Sass, and that's going to enable us to use SCSS within our project. By default, the React application uses CSS off the box, but with this module installed, it will enable us to use Sass as well. Alright, give that a minute. And the next one that we're going to install is a new module that I found called Create React App, or Create React Component Folder. This is going to be a dev dependency. And similar to the Create React App package, or CRA for short, this does the same thing, but it's more on a component level. So this enables us to bootstrap a lot of the code to creating a component, and we can just go in there and customize from there. So it looks like we're good to go. We're up and running. Let's start our application. So as it said in instructions, run npm start, and we should get our browser pulling up. And with our application for React. So one thing also to mention with Webpack, it also enables us to integrate with hot reloading. So let's say we make any changes to the code base. So let's just open up a file, for example. Let's go to the app.js. Maybe I want to add like a span here. Test span. I save that, it automatically is going to refresh in the browser. So let's go ahead and inspect that. And we can see that it's added the new span right here. So instead of us having to stop the server and then restart it again, using hot reload, it enables that to do that automatically. So awesome, that's looking good. And once we get to the styling portion of this series, with the Node Sass installed, it's just a simple change from app.css to app.scss, and of course renaming that to app.css, and we're good to go to start using the capabilities of Sass. Alright, so we've got our project up and running. Now the next thing to do is going through the design in our next part of the video and break it up into its various components. Alright, see you guys there. Thanks.